holidays are a time to celebrate by sharing delicious food and family traditions. So please join me as I prepare my jazzy vegetarian happy holiday meal.
Jazzy, you're gonna be healthy with the jazzy vegetarian. Jazzy, so snazzy. We're gonna cook something healthy and light. Jazzy, so snazzy.
So join me in the kitchen right now.
We're gonna cook something healthy and light. That's right.
My holiday celebration meal features my petite acorn squash, filled with a savory mushroom, walnut, and celery stuffing. And then on the side, my sweet cinnamon and maple glazed yummy yam casserole is topped with tasty pecans. And next up, green beans almondine add a fabulous flavor to the meal. And to finish with a flourish, my crunchy, nutty holiday Sandies. Many years ago, I decided that I had to work on a lighter sweet potato casserole. And I played around with it for a little while and finally came up with this, and I guarantee you, you're not going to miss any of the flavor. So I'm starting off with about 6 medium sweet potatoes. And you do want to peel it for this. There we go. And I just have the last one that I'm going to cut right now. Just slice them across like that. And I have a very large pot. I have a steamer insert in there. You just want to bring that water up to right under where the insert stops. So that water's boiling under there. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Kind of on a medium heat is what you want. Now, we're not going to cook these sweet potatoes all the way through. We're just going to cook them until they're crisp, tender. So I'm going to toss these in, and I'm going to let them steam for about 10 to 20 minutes. I think that's going to be enough. Let's get the top on that, and let's let that steam, and then we'll put our sweet potato casserole together. Now, why am I steaming these sweet potatoes, you say? Why am I not boiling them? I do get a lot of letters and emails about this, so I'd like to talk about that just a little bit right now. When you boil white potatoes, sweet potatoes, any kind of potatoes, and you put them in the water, as they boil, as they become tender, they tend to take on water. As they take on water, once you bake them in a casserole per se, they're going to let that water go and they're going to make your casserole all runny. You don't want that. So you want to steam them so they're sitting above the water. This just allows the sweet potatoes to become really, really tender, full of flavor. They don't lose as much of their nutrition as they do when you're boiling them, and they stay nice and firm in your casserole. So that is a great jazzy tip. Woo! Look at that. See there? My fork will go right into the top, but they're still firm on the inside, and that's what you want. So right now I'm just going to toss them right into my bowl. So now I'm going to mix it all together. So I'm going to start off with just a tad of extra virgin olive oil, about a tablespoon. I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Yummy. And that's what's going to make these kind of like candied sweet potatoes without adding a whole bunch of sugar. Of course, you're not adding any butter. You're not having any dairy or eggs in this. Now, we're going to spice it up a little bit. Just a little bit of powdered garlic, about a half a teaspoon. A little bit of salt, about an eighth of a teaspoon. Pinch of cayenne pepper. And then about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's nice. You can add pumpkin pie spice if you like. You can add apple pie spice. You get the idea. Whatever you like. Take the basics of what I'm sharing with you today and make a great casserole for your family. That's perfect. And I like to just kind of get my hands into this one, because what we're going to do is we're just going to overlap our pieces of sweet potato.
Yummy yams.
I have a 13 by 9 casserole dish here today.
I got some yams. I got some maple syrup. Yes, I do. Come on and put them all together, and we got some yummy yam casserole. Yummy, 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 yummy yam casserole.
You see how pretty they're going to be when they come out of the oven. There it this. All right, that looks great. Let me wash off my hands. It is kind of really festive if you put some nice organic dried cranberries over the top. That adds a nice flavor and makes it really pretty when you serve it up. And then the pecans. You just want to put a nice pecan layer over top. This is from my cookbook. I love this recipe. A tiny tad of this olive oil, maybe about another teaspoon is all you need. Then one more layer of these pecans over the top. This is smelling so good. I wish you could smell it because just fantastic. There we go. One little last touch. I've used about 4 tablespoons of this maple syrup in all. Make sure you get a good quality maple syrup. There it is, ready to go in the oven. My fabulous, yummy yam casserole. And I'm going to put it in at 400 degrees, and it's going to cook for 40 minutes to an hour. And it gets all gushy and mushy and candied and good. Now we're going to tent this with some foil, and you do want to cover this very, very tightly. So next up, I want to get to my stuffed acorn squash. This is really a fabulous dish, so stick around for that. So the first thing we're going to start off with is our bread cubes. And what I have here are 7 slices of sprouted whole grain bread. You can use any whole grain bread that you like. And we're just going to start by cutting some bread cubes, kind of the size you would see in those packages that you get in the supermarket if you've ever used the pre-packaged ones. And one more set. Now I am using the sprouted whole grain bread today. I really like that in this recipe, and it has a few sesame seeds around the side, and that really adds a little bit of crunch to this stuffing. All right, I'm just going to toss this with 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning and a half a teaspoon of sea salt. That's the whole deal. And since the bread has some nice texture to it, those little nooks and crannies are going to hold on to this salt and this Italian seasoning. I've lined out my large baking sheet with a little bit of unbleached parchment paper, and you want to put these kind of in a single layer. You're going to put them in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes at 375 and just let them crisp up a little bit. Now, I just love stuffing. I've loved it ever since I was a child. All right, let's pop this in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes, and I'm going to prepare the rest of the stuffing for you. Get that into the oven. We're just going to add to the pan 1 sweet onion that I have chopped. Add a tiny, tiny bit of olive oil. Top back on. And then I'm going to cut up some celery. I love celery in stuffing. Both my grandmother and my mother always put celery in their stuffing. Really adds a great flavor. If you want to use the leaves of the celery, you can for this. Just chop that up like that. Add them all together with the onions. Instead of adding more oil, to keep this from sticking, just add a little bit of water. I always keep that on hand when I'm doing something like this in the kitchen. That's a great jazzy tip. Okie dokie. Now, while I'm waiting for these to saute, I'm going to start my water going. I'm going to flavor this with a little bit of bouillon, and I'm going to use a whole cube in about 3/4 of a cup of boiling water. That's going to give the flavor to this stuffing. That's my little jazzy secret. Great. Our water's boiling. Stick your cube in there and start to kind of break it down. Now, when you buy bouillon cubes, do buy the vegetable bouillon cubes, of course. Make sure that there's no hydrogenated oils in the bouillon cube. So give this a little stir. Break up that cube in there. This is going to make a nice, thick, flavorful broth for our stuffing. Yeah! Smells, looks like Grandma's house. It's starting to be holiday time in the Jazzy Vegetarian kitchen right now. So I'm going to add 2.5 cups of diced cremini mushrooms and just about a teaspoon of tamari. Right away, that starts to brown up. A little bit of that water. No need for more oil. About 1.5 tablespoons of water. And we're going to let this saute until the mushrooms start to get nice and soft. Alrighty. Woo-hoo! Look at that. That is fantastic. If you could smell this, you would be so happy. It is happy holidays after all, is it not? I do want to get to my acorn squash. I've cut them in half and I have seeded them. I want to brush a little olive oil onto my acorn squash and just get a little bit of that olive oil into the crevices. It's going to keep them from getting dry. That is perfect. Excellent. Now a little bit of sea salt, just about a half teaspoon in all. A little bit of fresh ground pepper. There, those are all seasoned. Fantastic.
Happy holidays.
I've got here my toasted breadcrumbs. I'm going to add my walnuts. About 1.25 cups of chopped walnuts is what I'm using today. And I've chopped them up nice and small. Toss them about. There we go. Then to that, I'm going to add my mushroom mixture. So let's get that right into the stuffing. That's fabulous. Now toss it. Now we're going to start adding our liquid, and we are going to add a little bit at a time. So we're going to start off with our margarine. Just 1/4 cup of melted vegan margarine is all we're going to use in this stuffing. Now toss that about. I wish you could smell this. Okay, now we've got our fantastic bouillon here. Start by adding about half of it. Give it a toss. All right, add it all in there. That is looking fabulous. Oh, this smells so good. You see how it all looks like it's moistened, but yet it's not mushy. The breadcrumbs still have a little bit of give to them. That's what you want. I've used about 3/4 cup of bouillon in this stuffing today. Let me clean up my prep space a little bit, and we're going to stuff those beautiful acorn squash halves. I'm going to serve it, of course, with my fantastic yam casserole. I'm going to kind of mound this up so everybody gets a lovely little serving of this beautiful stuffing. Of course, I've made a nice slice on the bottom so it's not tippy in the casserole. I really wish you could smell this. Let me just rinse off my hands. Let me tent this with a little foil. Do make sure to make a tent out of it. Otherwise, when you take the foil off, it'll take off the top of your stuffing. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to put this into a 400-degree oven. I'm going to check it after 20 minutes or so. Add a little bit of water to the bottom of the dish if it's not cooking quick enough. And this is going to cook up anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. Next up, my vegan version of Grandma's favorite. It's my holiday Sandies. While the acorn squash is cooking, I thought I'd share my jazzy vegetarian green entertaining tip. I've decorated my table today with all repurposed items. I picked up these pine cones from my yard, and then what I do is I decorate them with a little bit of white paint, kind of making it like snow on the tips of the pine cone, just like a festive winter holiday. And then I just place some of my ornaments from years past, and it makes such a beautiful centerpiece and decoration for my holiday table. Let's get back to cooking. Holiday Sandies. My favorite holiday cookie when I was a little girl was one that my grandma used to make. But of course, I've veganized them. The first little jazzy twist, I'm using homemade oat flour. Many years ago, when I was a jazz singer in New York City, one Sunday morning I woke up and I decided I wanted pancakes. And of course, I didn't have any flour in the house, but I did have some rolled oats. So I thought to myself, what if I put those rolled oats in the blender, blended them up until they were the consistency of flour, and bingo, it worked fabulously. And I've been making homemade oat flour ever since. So I'm putting in, about 1.5 cups of oats, and we're going to come up with about 1 cup of homemade oat flour. So we have 1 cup of our homemade oat flour. Now I'm going to use about 3/4 of a cup of chopped walnuts. Now you can also use pecans, hazelnuts. You can also use almonds. We're going to toss in about 1/2 cup of ground walnuts in this recipe. That's good. I'm going to toss those right into our mixing bowl, right like that. Fantastic. Now you want to just kind of whisk this all together. Now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vegan confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. Get that all in there. That's going to add just a little bit of sweet to the base of this cookie. Very, very rustic dough. Now, I'm adding in 6 tablespoons of cold vegan margarine. I like to use a little pastry cutter to get this all incorporated. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Now we're going to add just a little bit of non-dairy milk, 1 teaspoon at a time, up to 2.5 teaspoons of cold non-dairy milk. So I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons, and I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Continue our blending. Oh yeah. So this is what we're going to do next. We're going to shape this into a log. Make it all pretty even. So let's get them into the refrigerator now. All right, I've been chilling these in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. I'll show you how I do this. Just want to take a regular table knife, slice them, and then as you put them on your cookie sheet, you just form them into little crescents. Isn't that cool? Nice thin slices, regular table knife, and just form them into little holiday crescents. So fun to get the kids or the grandkids involved with this one. We're going to put them into a 350-degree oven. We're going to let them bake for 7 minutes. Then you're going to turn the oven down to 300. And you're going to let them finish out for about 10 to 12 minutes. Do watch them closely. There they are. Aren't they beautiful? Our holiday Sandies ready to go into the oven. And next up, my fabulous green beans almondine. I have these beautiful little thin green beans, any kind of green beans that you like. Just clean them, trim them, and we're going to pop them right in the steamer now. And we're going to steam them for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add our red peppers. So we're going to start these. I'm going to get them steaming, and then at the last, we're going to add these red peppers, and they're going to add a nice pop of color to our green bean almondine. So how are we going to do the almondine, you may ask? I've got a nice saute pan here, and I'm going to add some slivered almonds, about 3/4 of a cup, a tiny bit of olive oil. That's all you need. A pop of salt, and a little bit of all-purpose seasoning. That's what's going to season up these almonds. So heat your pan up to about a medium heat, and we're just going to get a little toastiness going on these almonds with the top on, and let that go for just a minute, but stay by it, watch it very, very closely. We want a little garlic. I'm just going to mince 1 clove of garlic. Do make sure to mince it up really small. Nice. Check on these. You see how these are getting a little bit brown? That's what we're looking for. Just a tiny bit golden, but not black. That's starting to really smell good. Now toss in your garlic. Woo! There we go. Everybody in this room smells that garlic. That is fantastic. Quickly bring this down to low. We're going to finish it off with just a little bit of this vegan margarine, about 1 teaspoon. That's our whole sauce right there. That's a beautiful, beautiful sauce. That is it. It is finished. You can take that right off the heat. Let me just check on these beans. It's time to add our red pepper. 1 red pepper that I've cut in little thin slices like this. And now we're going to let it finish steaming for about 5 to 7 minutes. I think I've got about 2 minutes to my cookies, so I'm getting ready to get them out of the oven. Then I'm going to plate this fabulous holiday meal up for you. I can't wait. Yay!
Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you.
We want one little extra bit of jazzy pizzazz on these holiday sandies. That's to dip them in a little vegan confectioner's sugar. These just came out of the oven about 5 minutes ago. You do want to put the confectioner's sugar on while they are still warm, not hot. As you can see, these are really perfect for holiday time because it's kind of like there's little snow that's fallen on the top of these cookies. You know, when I make cookies, I'll just be sitting in front of the computer. This is really true. And I'll be computering and I'll be working, and then all of a sudden, I'll say to myself, I need cookies now. I need cookies now. Kind of like a spaceship cookie, kind of alien in my brain. And I just go to the kitchen and I make cookies. So right now, I'm going to plate up my happy holiday meal, and I'm happily going to taste it for you. Wow, here is my happy holiday meal spread. So let me take just a little bit of the green beans almondine. Look how pretty they are. Crisp taste of those beans, a little bit of that pepper just adds a little bit of punch, and those beautiful almonds just add an extra special crunch. Now, look at my beautiful sweet potatoes. Wow, that is fantastic. Now, my stuffed acorn squash. Really, the way to eat this is to dig in there with your spoon and take a little bit of that acorn squash and a little bit of that fabulous stuffing. Wow. The texture of the acorn squash that's all soft and it's cooked into that crunchy stuffing with those walnuts and those mushrooms and that celery. A fantastic super holiday meal. Now, my beautiful little cookies. Just going to take one. So delicate, so light, so sweet, just perfect. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. When celebrating is on your mind, I hope you'll try my happy holiday meal. So until next time, be happy, be healthy, and be well. From the Jazzy Vegetarian.
Visit our website at jazzyvegetarian.com to connect with Laura, see videos, find your favorite recipes, and more. Follow Laura on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Laura Theodore's Jazzy Vegetarian Classics features recipes from this series, and it's available for $26.95. Jazzy Vegetarian, a collection of favorite recipes, is available for $24.95. A set of both cookbooks is available for $44.95. For information or to order, visit jazzyvegetarian.com.
Organic love, 100% natural. Yes, it is now. Organic love. I've got no additives or no preservatives. It's real intuitive. It's downright primitive. Organic love is 100% natural. Yes, it is now.